based on a writing prompt from Reddit. Death came knocking on your door, so you invited him for a tea. Turns out he's terribly overworked these days and had the wrong address. Again. And that's how you became a subcontractor, fixing all of Death's little oopsies. Earl Grey? I asked him over the singing kettle. The large hooded figure sitting at my kitchen table rested its massive scythe against the wall and sighed as if breathing out a hard day's work. Black tea, if you have it. It rolled up its black sleeves to its, elbows. There wasn't necessarily an arm or an elbow underneath the robe, more like a dull-moving ectoplasm that formed into whatever necessity required where a human's hands would be. Of course! I rummaged in the back of the cupboard for the all-but-forgotten black tea. Never quite cared for black myself. My late husband, however, he loved this stuff. And cigarettes, too, Death added, not so poignantly. This got quite the laugh out of me while I poured the boiling water into the teacups. Too right! I supposed you would know all about that, being Death and all. Was it you who saw his soul to the, other side, is it? I see all souls to the other side. Its voice was grim and deep. Sure. I handed it the teacup and giggled gleefully. The little cup was absolutely dwarfed by its stature, and it disappeared momentarily behind the black veil of its hood, a slurping sound emitting from the darkness before the cup reappeared. How was he? As difficult in death as he was in life, I imagine? Death seemed to relax slightly, losing a bit of the menace from its tone. In my line of work, you deal with the worst that ever lived. Your husband was a treat compared to some. Only a minor fuss about staying another hour or so to finish viewing the final match I'd so rudely interrupted. I laughed again. I believe Death did as well, but it was more like a low humming that gave my eardrums a peculiar vibrating sensation. Well, you have my sincerest apologies for no doubt having to listen to his post-match rantings while you ferried him across the sea of the dead, or carved him up with that soul harvester there. Oh, this? The scythe groaned as it drug itself across the kitchen tile and into Death's ectoplasm fingers. It's only a prop, really. The scythe changed form repeatedly as Death spoke, becoming a small knife, a firearm, and a red balloon before changing back again. Different strokes for different folks, you know. Whatever gets them to recognize myself as the harvester of souls as quickly and easily as possible. Fascinating. I sipped my tea, curious as to what the rest of Death looked like as I tried to peer beyond the black veil. Perhaps try changing it to a GPS next time. Right. Death cleared its throat. My apologies for this. Things have just been so busy these last 100 years. Population boom, war, heart disease. I could go on. I held my hand and shook my head. No need to apologize, dear. I imagine you're worked to the bone. Truly. It's not right. I stomped my foot. You should have assistance. Aren't there labor unions in the afterlife for this sort of thing? Personnel dealing in death and soul harvesting have been notoriously underrepresented since the dawn of time. Death's hood sunk a little over the table. Its whole frame seemed to droop sadly. Not many souls are willing to devote their existence to the end of life. There was a long silence as I stared at Death empathetically. Here was an entity, long overworked, with no help and no recompense for its devotion to the cycle of life and death since the dawn of time. Death, I knew what needed to be done. I'd like to apply for the position of Death's live-in assistant. Assistant? Yes, sir. Ma'am. Death. Right. I stood up proudly with my cup of tea. Yes, Death. I would very much like to assist you in your day-to-day repins and other dealings. Retirement and the lack of a ranting husband has left me with nothing but time to kill before my own passing, and I think it would be best spent making sure that you're caught up on your work when the time comes for you to properly knock on my door. There's no way to be sure, but I believe there was a faint smile forming somewhere in the void of Death's hood. Madam, you should put on another kettle. The sides shifted into an elegant quill pen, and a gigantic stack of paperwork materialized on the table. We've got work to do.